My best relationship advice for now, it kind of feels like two things coming up right now, but the first is that every relationship is different. So, like, even when you were saying that there were some guys that were kind of making stories about, like, oh, I need this type of girl, like, I need a virgin, or I
Or a
need,
girl with a low body count.
or low body count, yeah. Um, it kind of sets you up for failure because you're looking when you meet someone that you're dating,
Well, they don't
or
take any
about to date.
responsibility for their part. They say, "Well, if I meet a girl like this, then everything's gonna be fine."
Yeah, and then but then you're also not being present at that point when you're meeting the person. You're just kind of like checking off boxes and looking at them through these different filters. Like, if you're just able to be present and be curious to get to know the person in front of you without any of these judgments of, oh, they need to be this or that if I'm going to date them, like, just, base it off how you actually feel rather than all of these like boxes you're checking off in your head. That's my relationship advice. And that's in even throughout the entire relationship as well. If you just keep coming back to, like, how am I feeling with this person right now, and not let the head get so involved as much. Does that make sense? You're looking at me like it doesn't make sense.
But that also
What do you
comes
mean
back
by
to.
that? Like
Go ahead.
not
So
getting the
it's
head.
really,
So are you talking about the difference between the head and the heart, and what you're feeling versus what you're thinking?
yeah, and because that was a big thing for me, again, with us getting back together, was the stories that I had about us and our relationship and how he was going to show up, and how I was going to feel. Like, I had all of these preconceived stories built up, and I wasn't actually present into the moment of what's actually happening now. And I wasn't being the creator of my own story. I was just letting the past create my future. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you can
You were
just be,
stuck in the
I was
past, like
stuck
we were
in the
talking about earlier.
past. Yeah. Um, and that's what it sounds like a lot of these guys and women will do when getting into a new relationship as well. They're still stuck in the past, and they're expecting this new person to almost act the same way someone in a past relationship did with them. And they kind of create it and manifest it all on their own.
Yeah, you said, I remember when you read The Rational Male, it really helped you understand some things and gave you some epiphanies about your experience with your previous marriage and how and why that it ended. And I remember you were telling me at the time there were some. It's just for whatever reason it helped a lot of things click with you. Like what were your takeaways from that?
Oh, wow. So I would say the past marriage that I had, there were some definite times where I dropped the ball that I was not aware of. So, for example, when she got pregnant, she became much more stressed, much more controlling, much louder, a lot of behavioral issues, almost like tantrums, really controlling, wouldn't let my family come over to the house. I mean, just a lot of bizarre behavior stuff. I now reflect and see that as a cry for help.
She didn't feel safe.
Her needs weren't being met. I wasn't showing up. Her needs weren't being met. She didn't feel safe. So she was going into more stress. So as a result of that, I withdrew more. So the whole thing just snowballed. Now I understand that when a woman gets tense, when a woman gets stressed, when a woman gets upset, really what that translates into is the man isn't showing up for her. She doesn't feel safe. Her needs aren't being met. So I learned from that. I took responsibility for it, even though it was extremely uncomfortable to reflect and see how I played a major role in that divorce and then what led up to a divorce. But I learned from it. So now in my current relationship, anytime Ashley's upset or she seems stressed, instead of criticizing, now I see a woman whose needs aren't being met, and how can I show up to support her and to meet her needs.
So when you look back on the book The Rational Male, do you think that influenced your mindset in a positive or a negative way? Because that was obviously months after that was when you went and got your vasectomy.
Oh, was it?
You know, it's hard to say. That I read that book, what was it, a year and a half ago or more? More than that. Maybe almost
I don't remember.
2 years ago. I couldn't, and I've read a few books, and it's hard. It's hard for me to quote that book, to be honest with you, because it's all
Was
just
there
like
any
information
major
downloaded.
Was there any major epiphanies that you take away from it, or have you just
from
completely
that
forgot?
book in particular?
Yeah.
I can't distinguish what the sources were for the different understandings that I have now.
It's all mushed together.
It's all mushed together.
I remember when you sat down with your ex-wife and you had a conversation with her and you just took responsibility for everything you realized you dropped the ball with, and she just, melted and cried, and how great that was for you and for your relationship as being, parents of the kids.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing healing, and it was amazing how it dropped the emotional charge between my ex-wife and I. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys who listen to your videos that they have an ex-wife. She's a crazy bitch. I want to see my kids. I want to spend time with my kids. But every time I go to get the kids, there's a bunch of crap I got to deal with. There's always drama. Anytime there's emotion between the man and the woman, right? Between you and the ex-wife, that means that there's unfinished business. And it's the man's job to step up and take responsibility for everything. You don't have to understand in the moment, but just know that it's your job, because the role of the man in the relationship is to take responsibility. The role of the man in the relationship is to provide safety. The role of the man in the relationship is to create the space, to create the environment, to create the container so that the woman can go into her feminine. It's not about being right or wrong. And if a man doesn't see how he played a role in something that happened, you don't have to. Just take responsibility.
And it's never too late to have that conversation
It's
either.
never too late, because if they're stressed, they're still in the moment of the trauma.
Yeah. You can help liberate them.
And that's the role of the man, really, is to liberate the woman. So if
to heal a trauma between them.
The more masculine a man shows up, the more he's creating safety for the woman, and the woman will spontaneously heal her wounds and traumas. So I would say if a man says, hey, I can't be with a woman, she's had too many partners, she's dated around for whatever that is, really he's lost his path as a man, and he forgot what he's here for. A man is here to liberate the woman. Really what he's doing at that point is he's having a heady or intellectual story that probably isn't his story. It's probably a cultural story or a religious story. It's bullshit. Right? It's his checkbox. Well, if that's the more rules you have to be happy, the more miserable.
I just see a lot of negativity in the comments when it comes to the red pill stuff. And it's like, the dudes are angry. They're pissed off.
When you say red pill stuff, clarify
well, that's the Rollo Tomasi kind of stuff. The manosphere, if you will. There's a lot of different authors and guys. They complain about single moms. How single moms are horrible and you should never date them. You don't want to raise another man's kids. And then I see these guys on my channel when I say things. They just go and they repeat these fucking platitudes that they learned.
They're cheating
from
themselves.
him or somebody else. It's like. And I'll break their balls. I'm like, you're repeating a platitude that you memorized from some dude on the internet, and you don't even fucking know what it means.
So let's break that down a little bit. If a man is getting in a relationship with a woman with the intent of just being with her sexually, so at that point, is he creating the space for safety, or is he teaching her don't trust? So he's bringing more negativity to the world. He's bringing more hate into the world. He's bringing more hurt into the feminine. That is the worst thing he could ever bring into the world. And I would bet for those men who do that and may even be good at it, how do they feel afterwards? Do they feel fulfilled? Do they feel masculine? Do they feel like they have achieved? Or do they feel more empty and hollow?
Yeah, it's like glorified masturbation because they don't feel anything for her. They're not really into her. They were just using her to get laid and build their ego up and feel, good about themselves for being able to seduce some random chick, and then they're on to the next.
So there's a part of me that wants to say, you selfish piece of shit, for a man that would do that, right? I'm not saying it that I'm not judging them, but I'm just saying, hey, if I were to do that, I would say, what a selfish piece of shit I would be to do that. Because my role as a man, and now I understand most masculine thing I could do is show up for a woman and create that space. Man, I feel so fulfilled. I feel unbelievably fulfilled as a man to know that I could show up and create the space for Ashley so that she could feel safe. It is so fulfilling. Far more fulfilling than it ever was meeting a woman who I thought was beautiful, connecting with her, being with her, one night stand, whatever you want to call it. I always felt hollow the few times that I did that. Very, very few.
The few times.
Very few.
I've heard the
Of
stories.
course.
Yeah.
Just a few.
So I would say to those men that are doing that, take a look in the mirror and just define what it is that you're bringing to the world, and ask yourself: are you doing that for you at the expense of others, or is really a man about being present with a woman and protecting her and creating safety for her? And if she has children, wow, what an awesome privilege that would be to show up as a man to create the environment that woman needs to heal. And not only changing her life and the trajectory of her life, but changing the trajectory of those children, because now they have a masculine presence in their life to emulate. And if she has if she has daughters, now those daughters, instead of being man haters, are going to show up and be amazing women and attract a masculine man into their life because that wound has been healed. So that man not only healed the woman who he's now in relationship with, but he's helped her children emulate a positive, healthy relationship. And he just changed the trajectory of those children and their lineage. What an amazing gift that would bring to the table.
Yeah, because some of those, I'm not going to mention names, some of the other red pill guys, they've written books as well, and they've read my book, and then they just absolutely make videos and savage me because I've had girlfriends in the past that had kids, and they're like, oh, single moms are horrible. I dated a single mom. It was terrible. You should never date a single mom. And these dudes are fucking toxic.
They're needy.
And so you got guys that are hurt because they went through a bad divorce, and then they're coming to these dudes that have the same wounds basically, and then they adopt the toxic philosophies of these wounded, broken men, and then they become like them, and then they just go out on the internet and they regurgitate it. It's almost like it becomes like a cult.
I was there. That's where I was at when Ashley and I split up, and around the time of the divorce. It was the same. I was jaded. I was hurt. I was upset. And it's easy to withdraw. It is so easy to withdraw. But at the end of the day, you got to lick your wounds and course correct, take responsibility, and show up in your masculine. And I would encourage any of the men that are single and want a healthy relationship to take a look and really go a little deeper and say, what am I bringing to the world? And what kind of impact do I want to have on the world?
Yeah, from just my observation with interacting with these dudes on my YouTube channel, my other social media, is that it's enabling them to continue to point the finger at everybody else. In other words, all women are this particular way. And because all women are this way and they're not like they used to be, then I'm only going to show up and pump and dump, and she's not yours, it's just your turn. And I hear these these ridiculous platitudes, and it's like, if that's your belief, if that's your reality, that's your story, then you're going to continually attract the same kind of broken women, and of course you're going to have the same type of relationship, and then you'll have the same type of outcome. And so it's like, I look at that and I go, how are a lot of these guys, the toxic part of the red pill community? How are they really helping people?
I say
Are they
they're
really
cowards.
getting them out of their trauma and getting them onto something better?
I would say they're doing the opposite of helping.
They're just creating more wounding. They're creating more of what it is that they didn't want and they're moving away from. And at the end of the day, maybe they're using the relationships, the very short relationships that they're trying to attract as a way of self-medicating so that they don't have to be present for their own wounds. And they get significance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get connection, they get love, they get attention, they get accolades from other men because they think they've achieved something. But the only thing that they achieved was a temporary getting their one of their 6 human needs met, right? That Tony Robbins talks about. Yep. But they're actually distracting themselves from what it is they really want in life, and they want to feel fulfilled. Nothing about a one-night stand is going to make you feel fulfilled. If anything, you feel more empty afterwards. I did. And one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life was becoming more and more masculine and providing the space for my woman to drop her guard and to drop her defenses and to feel like she had safety for maybe the first time in her life at that depth. Wow, unbelievably fulfilling. And I would want to say challenge those men that you're talking about, but I would say if I could inspire you to just take a look at it at what's going on from a different angle, and give it a go. But again, don't go into a relationship with an intent that you need anything. Go into the relationship with the intent that you're there to serve, and you're there to show up in your masculine, and provide that container that liberates the woman. And you will feel more fulfilled than you've ever felt in your life.
Yeah, because when you make her feel safe, then you really create the space where she can really let her joy come through her. Because great women bring joy into your life. That's what's beautiful. Just like watching you float around the office when, first time I saw you after you had your little baby bump. It's like, it's beautiful to see that. And it's beautiful to know that Dominick created a space for you to feel that safe and bring joy, and everybody noticed that about you. It's beautiful to see.
It is beautiful
because you wanted a baby for a long time, and obviously we've talked about it over the years, and it's cool. It's like you finally have
a little dude.
Yeah,
growing.
Little dude.
He's coming.
A little
Couple
dude with
more
a giant schwanz.
It was an umbilical cord, but it doesn't sound nice though. Doesn't it sound nice?
He never acknowledges that it's an umbilical cord.
That's fun.
I saw it. You sent me the sonogram. It's like you're like, it's a boy. I was like, wow, nice job, Dom.
You know, if I could throw something in there, Corey, too, how men are always looking for the right one. It's not about finding the right one. It's about becoming the right one. And
becoming what you want to attract.
I honestly believe that when a man shows up in his masculine, a woman shows up in her feminine more and more and more, the more that she learns that she can trust you. And I think that I honestly think that there's no such thing as a woman that you can't have a healthy relationship with. There's women that have a high need for safety because they've had a lot of wounding and might be more challenging, but a masculine man can step up to that challenge and provide that space.
He's got to be really strong.
You
really strong guy.
You got to be a strong guy.
Unperturbable. All the time.
And watch her defenses melt, and watch her emotional whatever her baggage, watch it melt away. Men, we have to work at our stuff. I think women don't need to work at it so much as have the space that we create as men, the safety. And I think women, their healing is almost spontaneous. The challenge is how many men are up for the task right now. You know, like Corey and I, we've had this debate that how there's all this man shaving and man hating, and you watch TV and the men are more feminine than the women on TV. It's like, what the F is going on? But whose fault is it? The men are acting, they're sleeping around. They're creating more distrust. They're creating more wounding. and they're not showing up in their masculine. So maybe the reason why there's an imbalance right now is because the men aren't showing up. What if the men were to not need anything from their mommies? What if we showed up more healed, more in our masculine, more at a place where we need nothing but we're here to serve? How liberating and how inspiring that would be.
Nice. Good talk, Russ.
Yeah, that was a little heavy. I got a little serious for a minute.
You were speaking from your power, though.
I take
Ashley could feel
responsibility.
it.
I take responsibility for the fact that you turn on the TV and you see feminine men. I showed up. I don't want to say I showed up feminine, but I would say I definitely didn't show up. I didn't show up in my masculine. I showed up in my wounded masculine. Now I show up in my masculine and I see an amazing, amazing need for it. And the little bit of dating that I did, it was unbelievable how the women who I dated were saying how they've meet these guys. None of them are masculine. They shave their legs. They shave their arms. They're more worried about their looks and their hair than she is. And I'm not saying that that's masculine or feminine, but I'm going to say that doesn't.
I put a lot of work into my hair.
Yeah, it shows.
Looks, yeah.
But and I'm not saying that you can't shave your arms and legs and still show up in your masculine. I'm just saying that there was a symptom that that some of the women that I went out with were sharing with me, that there's such a shortage of masculine men. You men out there listening to this, step up. Don't worry about finding the right one. You just show up and watch the women flock to you. The women are hungry for the masculinity. Yeah, you're going to have one or two that are wounded and they're going to bust your balls. Just see them as needy. See them as someone who's wounded that hasn't had a healthy masculine presence.
See it as an opportunity to show up for them.
And they're going to question you. They're going to test you.
As a man, that you owe that to them anyways.
And as a man,
everybody, whether it's your mom
absolutely.
or your sister or a woman you work with or a client that's a female, it's like you have to be in your masculine. It makes everybody feel safe.
And when she's testing you, that's a compliment. She's saying, can I trust you? Do you own yourself? Do you know who you are enough? Can you show up enough that you can liberate me? Every time a woman tests you, instead of getting pissed off, say thank you. This is an opportunity for me to show the world that I can show up. When Ashley used to test me, I used to get pissed off. I used to get triggered. I pay the bills. I take care of everything. I buy the food. I helped buy her car. I did all this other stuff, but yet she's busting my balls. I took it as the ultimate insult. Now I know it was the ultimate compliment. Because what she was doing wasn't busting my balls. She was testing me. Am I perturbable? Can she trust me? Can she rely on me? Now, whenever she tests me, I say to myself, I don't say it to her. I say to myself, cool, an opportunity to show her I got it.
I got this.
The women are designed to test the men. The masculine men shines
testing
at the
is
test.
testing to see if it's safe. If
That's
it's
what
still safe.
That's what they're wired to do. They're supposed to do that because when they have kids, they need to know, are they going to be cared for? Are they going to be provided for? Women are wired to test the man. That's what they're there for. That's their job. Don't get pissed when they do it. See it as an opportunity, a window to show them you got it.